Tantor Audio, a division of Recorded Books, presents Pain-Free, Revised and Updated Second Edition, a revolutionary method for stopping chronic pain. By Pete Egoscue. Foreword by John Lynch. Narrated by Patrick Lawlor and Pete Egoscue. Publisher's Note: this audiobook includes bonus material. Please visit Tantor.com and type Pain-Free, Revised and Updated Second Edition into the search box. Follow the link to the book's page. Then, under the Supplemental Contents section, please enter the access code CALM, and then click the Unlock button to access the bonus material. The code should be entered in all lowercase letters. All diagrams and images referenced in this audiobook can be found in the bonus material. Foreword. How long has that right shoulder been hurting you? These were the first words Pete Egoscue ever spoke to me. I was a 15-year-old sophomore at Torrey Pines High School north of San Diego, and Pete was at our school to see a Division I football prospect who was a friend of mine. I was the QB to be the following year, and was dragged there to throw to my friend so that Pete could evaluate and help my buddy. I had pitched 6 innings the day before, and although I hadn't told anyone, my shoulder was throbbing in pain. "How did you know my shoulder was hurting me?" I asked in disbelief. Pete Egoscue, a former Marine, barked back, "Well, son, it's not duck season in Del Mar, is it?" He was referencing the fact that as my shoulder was killing me, I was struggling to throw any semblance of a spiral. When a ball flutters in football, it is referred to as a duck. His comment was not intended as a compliment. I was young, competitive, and prideful, and I didn't like being embarrassed, so I glared back at the imposing barrel-chested Marine. He instantly changed his demeanor, smiled at me, and, ignoring everyone else on the field, asked, "Can I help you?" Pete took me off to the side and had me do 3 exercises, simple exercises. He asked me to stand with my toes angled in and to pull my shoulder blades down and back. He had me lie on a park bench with one leg pulled close to my chest and the other hanging free so that my groin would release. He had me make circles with my arm hanging free, aided by the weight of a nearby rock and gravity. Just as I was thinking, what the heck is this guy doing, he finished things off by asking me to do a downward dog. This was 1987. Doing yoga poses was the epitome of a high school football player's most embarrassing nightmare. Pete's entire sequence had taken maybe 3 minutes, but everyone was eagerly wanting to get back to the workout. I got up, and Pete's bark returned. "Now go throw a damn spiral." My shoulder had been so painful during the preceding throws that I was really not looking forward to attempting another, but I had to for my buddy. I took my drop, unleashed the ball, and braced myself for the pain that had followed my previous throws. But the pain never came. I watched as my spiral sailed downfield. It was the best ball I had ever thrown. I looked at Pete and smirked. He had embarrassed me, so I had no intention of giving him any credit. He smiled and said, "Again." I dropped back and unleashed another ball. I again watched, completely free of pain, as my spiral sailed smoothly downfield. If my previous throw hadn't been my best ever, this throw surely would have been. I looked at him and asked, "What did you do to me?" He said, "I didn't do anything. You did." Pete explained to me that nothing was wrong with my shoulder. Rather, the position of my shoulder had gotten out of whack, and he simply had to teach me to reposition it. I didn't exactly understand, but I knew with certainty that I felt no pain and was throwing better than I ever had. In 3 minutes, he unlocked my body, unleashing my potential to optimize whatever talents the good Lord and my parents had blessed me with. I went home and told my mom and dad about my experience. My dad had already heard of Pete and looked into things before sitting me down for a chat the next week. He told me that Pete typically didn't work with people my age and would do so only if I committed to 3 things. 1. Always be on time. 2. Do the menus and workouts exactly as Pete prescribed. And 3. Never be late. I was a teenager and lightheartedly thought, well, that is really only 2 rules. But my dad was far more serious. He felt it was a little much to have someone making house calls to see a 15-year-old, but he also knew that my dream was to be a professional athlete, and he knew that I was willing to work to achieve that dream. My dad said we would give it a trial run, but Pete's 3 rules were his 3 rules. It's almost 35 years later now, and a lot has changed. I earned a scholarship to Stanford University. I was drafted, I was signed, and I played both professional baseball and professional football. My ultimate career path followed my passion and took me to the NFL, where I had a 15-year career. I captained the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in Super Bowl 37, made 9 Pro Bowls, and was a 4-time All-Pro. Fewer than 10 players in league history have been named to the Ring of Honor in 2 different franchises. I am one of those players for both the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and the Denver Broncos. I was inducted into the Pro Football Hall of Fame. I have lived a charmed life. I despise talking about myself. That is how I was raised, and more so, that is my personality. But I list these accomplishments in gratitude, because in addition to my coaches, my teammates, my parents, and my wife, Pete Egoscue was very much responsible for my success and helping me achieve my dreams. Pete Egoscue taught me how to work. Moreover, he taught me how to outwork my competition. He taught me mental toughness and showed me that my body was strong and resilient. He taught me and so many athletes at all levels that your body won't let you down, your mind will. He helped me unleash every ounce of athletic ability that I had. By pushing me in the off-seasons since I was 15 years old, he taught me the mental advantage that you have by knowing you can outlast your competition. The 4th quarter was always my friend. As my competition was getting worn out, I was just getting going. Pete taught me that my body was more than capable of taking on the rigors of the NFL. I played a very physical brand of football in an era when that was how you played the game. People have always asked, then and now, how did your body last playing that way for 15 years? I know that there is no way my body would have allowed me to perform and last that long if not for my work with Pete. Quite simply, Pete is the most brilliant person that I have ever encountered when it comes to the human body and unleashing its vast potential. That is why today, in my role as the general manager of the San Francisco 49ers, Pete and the Egoscue Method are an integral element of our health and performance team. So I encourage you to enjoy this book. It is such a cliche to say that this will change your life, but this will change your life. You will feel better, stand taller, and be able to enjoy more activities. You will be able to sustain a quality of life that so many believe is not feasible or available to them. It is available to you, and this book will give you the tools to do that and live a healthy, happy, pain-free life. John Lynch, October 2021, Santa Clara, California. A disclaimer about disclaimers. It has become obligatory for health books to carry a legal disclaimer. You've read them. The following advice is not intended to substitute for the advice of a physician, and they go on to recommend that you consult a doctor before embarking on whatever program is being offered. They conclude with the author and publisher disclaiming any legal responsibility for adverse consequences. If you need the disclaimer's protection, stop listening to this book. My working principle as an author and exercise therapist is that the most important consultation is the one you have with yourself. Healthcare starts with personal responsibility.
Introduction. A number of decades ago, I wrote my first book, talking about the wonder of the human body. Since that time, the world has undergone an amazing change, a dramatic acceleration of technology. The marvels of human creativity have enhanced our abilities in every aspect of daily life, except one: our bodies. As the requirement of existence depends less and less on our ability to move, we live at our desks, in our car, and on our couches, our health and physical capabilities have declined. Chronic pain has become the number one issue in our healthcare system, and it has perplexed and frustrated the medical community for decades. This frustration has led to a variety of treatment options and interventions: drug therapies, physical therapy of all types, surgeries, braces, and a large number of research studies trying to determine the best way to alleviate the pain. All of these approaches begin with a seemingly logical premise: the site of the pain is the place to treat. In other words, the source of the pain and the cause of the pain are one and the same. The problem? That's simply not true when it comes to cases of sustained chronic pain. Why is that? Let's use the example of a broken arm. An accident happens. You break a bone and you feel pain and discomfort. As the bone heals, the pain gradually subsides, cause and effect. Bone damage causes pain. Bone healing alleviates pain. Next, let's take a look at a herniated disc, a problem that's a common source of the most prevalent pain in our country: back pain. The disc, as it slips or bulges out of its place in the spine, doesn't heal. The pain comes and goes, but the broken bone heals. So why doesn't the herniated disc? The answer? Healing chronic pain is about understanding its cause. An event caused the broken bone. That event is over. The body, as a living organism, begins the process of healing the damage caused by the event. The event was the action, or stimulus, that resulted in the break. Since that stimulus is no longer acting on the bone can heal. The disc does not heal because the stimulus that produced the herniation is still present. The body's natural process to repair tissue doesn't work because the cause, the stimulus, is still present and active. This is the core principle of pain-free. You can heal pain only when you identify and treat its cause, and that cause may not be so obvious. As a living organism, the body is in a constant state of cell renewal. Not being in that state is a sign of disease or system imbalance. This book is about helping you find and treat the cause so you can allow your body to heal and thrive. The cause: muscle imbalance. This book represents more than 40 years of confirmation that muscle imbalance is the cause of the maladies producing chronic pain. Restoring our natural design balance solves the problem and cures the pain. This reality, as true and powerful as it is, presents a modern challenge to you. We as a culture have become convinced that humans are fragile, easily broken, and limited in our abilities to achieve and maintain perfect health. We're told repeatedly by well-meaning experts that our bodies are so complex that only they can determine health or treatment options and outcomes. You're challenged not to rely on your own wisdom, instincts, experience, and beliefs. Your self-reliance is important only if it is supported by expert guidance. This book is about you and your expertise. My experience as a postural therapist has taught me that you know more about your body than any expert, including me. The challenge for me, the author, is to provide evidence and common sense in order for you not only to believe in your own wisdom, but more important, also to act on that wisdom. I hope the book achieves this goal. If you will trust yourself and grasp the simple, brilliant, functional capabilities of your body, your transformation will confirm that a balanced musculoskeletal system produces the energy and capacity for you to lead a well-lived life, pain-free.
1. The modern pain epidemic. Pain causes more of a burden on our society today than it has at any other point during history. Musculoskeletal pain, the type that comes from the bones, joints, muscles, and nerves, affects more than 50% of the adult population in the United States. Musculoskeletal problems are the leading cause of global disability. And despite all the advances of modern medicine, that burden has been steadily growing for the last several decades. Pain is often portrayed as one of the human body's most enigmatic curses, one with no shortage of purported cures. We have wave-your-wand magic potions, glitzy technology, and fancy diagnoses. We have developed pain-killing medications that are so strong and addictive they have become the cause of one of the worst drug problems in humanity's history. And yet the problem persists. Pain continues to limit, even ruin, millions of lives. Why? What I know is this. We have just about everything backward when it comes to how we understand, prevent, and treat pain. Our pain problem persists because our modern environment and the approaches of modern medicine have not addressed the only thing that can stop pain, the source of it. Here is the funny thing, and what I have learned over my 4 decades of working with people in varying degrees of pain, like you. The answer to this complex problem is simple. You. You have the power to fix your pain if you stop fearing it and learn to understand it. In doing so, you will learn to trust yourself and take back control of your journey. Before we get into the intricacies of the body in the next sections, let's think about the big picture and how we got into this painful mess to begin with. Modern society's triad of pain. When I look at today's society and compare it to the society of a half-century ago, I see 3 key differences that are fueling our pain epidemic. We live in fear. Today's modern culture has given us a lot of great things. I like playing on my phone as much as the next person. Yet there are unintended consequences to living in a hyper-fast world. Many of us have robbed ourselves of the fundamental belief that our bodies have the ability to bounce back. Growing up, you probably remember banging your knee and having a parent or coach say, "Shake it off, work it out, you're going to be fine." That wasn't just tough love. That was an unconscious acknowledgement of our innate resilience and the body's incredible capacity to heal all on its own. As kids, we viewed the pain from our banged knee as a message that our body was still healing. But something happens as we grow up, something that changes our innate understanding of pain's purpose. We begin to fear pain, viewing it as a problem to address rather than a message to understand. A problem requires a solution, a pill, a procedure, an expert, to make it all disappear. In the end, this has hurt us. We no longer collectively have the self-reliance and emotional capacity to empower our own bodies to help us. We have become environmentally cautious and risk-averse, and therefore, when something hurts, we do not intuitively know how to handle it. We have lost our childhood intuition to see pain as a message. Instead, we are quick to jump to worst-case scenario problems and to look for solutions outside ourselves, from pills, procedures, and experts. We must relearn that intuitive self-reliance if we are to be successful in our battle against pain. Treating symptoms is not the same as fixing causes. Pain is the result of a complex mix of anatomy, biology, and neurology with no universal fix. Despite a healthcare system that offers countless treatment options, relief is frequently marginal and sporadic. Consistent, complete relief is all too often elusive. Surgery isn't a guaranteed fix for many problems and carries the risk of damaging the fragile ecosystem of the human body. Painkillers may be up to the task of hiding the pain, but they are the medical equivalent of a masquerade party. They cover up the symptom, but they don't address the root cause of whatever triggered the curse-inducing agony to begin with. Modern musculoskeletal medicine uses technology to find and fix problems on a micro level. Let's use back pain as an example. This is one of our most pervasive pains with no accepted one-size-fits-all approach. Perhaps your MRI shows a herniated disc that is compressing a nearby nerve root. Plenty of interventions have the potential to relieve that pain, but there are important questions that are often left unasked. What caused the herniated disc? What is happening to cause such an abnormal stress that the disc was forced to herniate? These questions need to be explored and answered to find and fix the root cause of your problem. This requires a macro look at the body rather than a micro focus on the location of the pain. A diagram of the macro view and the micro view can be located in the bonus PDF. We use MRIs, CT scans, and X-rays with more frequency than ever before. We have more information readily available at our fingertips than any previous era. Yet pain is more pervasive than at any other point in history. Why? Because the information, or in medical terms, the diagnosis provided by these technologies addresses only the micro issue. An MRI provides information about only a small portion of your musculoskeletal system. The narrowness of that focus is compounded by the fact that the images are static. Completely absent is the impact of movement on the visualized structures. If the root cause of the pain falls outside that micro lens, it likely will never be discovered. For example, elbow pain can originate from poor shoulder position. Back pain can come from weak hips. These causes are not going to show up on a micro-focused MRI aimed at your elbow or back. We must zoom out and consider the macro view to understand and address the source of our pain. It's not just biological, it's environmental. More and more, our worlds have zero physical motion. At work, at home, and in our recreational environments, routine movement is becoming a thing of the past. Just think about desks and cars, smartphones and video games, televisions and computers. Think about how many hours we spend each day hunched over, crunched up, and jumbled into an anatomical tangle of tendons and tissues. Food and water are available literally at our fingertips. With the click of a button, we can have groceries delivered. Go one step further to takeout delivery, and all the movement necessary for cooking is eliminated. Heck, one of the fastest growing recreational activities is watching people play video games. We are paying money to sit in packed arenas and watch other people sit. These motionless scenarios play out over and over, everywhere, every day. Our bodies were meant to get up and move, but collectively we no longer do it. Your commitment to movement will provide you the foundation for living pain-free. Paths to Pain-Free. Dr. Paul Hodgson, New Wave Chiropractic Center. Dr. Paul Hodgson has always been an athlete. He played ball sports when he was younger: basketball, football, rugby. Now he's more into yoga, rock climbing, and endurance sports. Over the years, he's suffered from acute injuries that turned chronic. That is, problem spots that never really healed, so they would always get re-aggravated and re-injured. In addition, he's had poor posture his whole life. Being a chiropractor with bad posture is like being a dentist with bad teeth. In my mind, unacceptable, he says. When Brian Bradley, a VP at Egoscue, took his son to Hodgson for treatment of an injury, they got talking about posture, and Hodgson took a look at Bradley's spine. When I saw his spine on an X-ray, I had noticed that he had one of the best spines I had ever seen for his age in terms of degeneration, disc spacing, joint spacing, and bone health. He says, "That piqued my interest." Hodgson began doing E-sizes, the exercises of the Egoscue Method, and noticed a whole lot of changes in his body, including being more aware of his posture and body movement. He's already very aware as a chiropractor and yoga practitioner. He now does all kinds of movements without worrying about getting injured, and he tells his clients about adding E-sizes to help their pains. "My body is visibly and functionally very different and probably the strongest it's ever been. I'm 36 and definitely getting older," he says, "but my body feels like it's getting stronger." The pain cycle. These three pain problems, especially when intertwined, are the reasons why pain so frequently becomes an inescapable cycle of suffering. Fear causes us to have tunnel vision about our pain. We become micro-focused on what hurts. Modern musculoskeletal medicine reinforces that focus with micro-tests and diagnoses that fail to capture our macro-environment. Without an understanding of our macro-environment, the cause of our pain remains an unsolved mystery. That uncertainty feeds right into our fear. This self-perpetuating cycle can become difficult to escape. Even if you have a proper diagnosis for your pain, a herniated disc, a migraine, arthritis, the therapy you apply can't address a root cause you don't understand. Without that understanding and a fix for pain's underlying origin, the uncertainty of when and why the pain will return becomes crippling. You become scared still, quite literally afraid to move. That is the cycle we need to break ASAP. How today's pain is different. 40 years ago, in the 1920s, manual workers outnumbered knowledge workers by a ratio of 2 to 1. By 1980, that ratio was reversed. Although humans were spending more time sitting and less time moving at work, technology was less pervasive than it is now, which meant movement was still relatively commonplace, even in office jobs, walking across the hallway to make a copy, taking the stairs to a meeting, strolling a few blocks to pick up lunch. Activities of daily living and recreational activities still largely centered on movement, so even the most sedentary workers were commonly moving outside the workplace. Today, in today's society, movement as a requirement for survival is largely a thing of the past. Technology has changed the way we work, play, and carry out our everyday necessary life activities. For virtually every imaginable activity, there is a technological solution that eliminates or reduces the amount of movement required to accomplish our objective. 40 years ago, when people felt pain, it was a result of being tight and stiff. Muscles like movement. They start to feel stiff and tight when they go for long periods of time without motion. The increasing prevalence of sitting reduced the frequency that muscles were put to work. Today we move so little that we have moved beyond the stiffness of yesteryear. Our muscles are called into action so infrequently that most musculoskeletal pain is the result of muscle weakness. When our muscles don't have the necessary strength to carry out a desired movement, we start to compensate, creating instability and imbalance that results in pain. Our challenge today results from the complexity of our compensations for these underlying muscle weaknesses. The pain that results rarely occurs at the location of weakness. Instead, we feel pain somewhere else, the result of some abnormal strain or stress that...
Sample complete. Ready to continue?